Did you know that under the new UK immigration rules, even a British passport may no longer guarantee smooth entry, family sponsorship, or immigration approval? After March 2026, shocking government figures already show a sharp rise in refusals, increased border questioning, and thousands of applications rejected due to tighter eligibility checks. What's even more surprising is that British citizens themselves are now being affected, something that was almost unthinkable just a few years ago. Here's where it gets unsettling. The UK Home Office is rolling out stricter income rules, digital tracking, AI risk profiling, and retroactive penalties. A small mistake from years ago, an overstay, a fine, or even claiming certain benefits could now trigger serious consequences. Families are being separated, visas refused, and long-term residents left in limbo, all because of quiet rule changes most people don't fully understand yet. So the big question is, could this affect you or someone you love? In this video, I'll break down 10 new UK immigration rules for 2026 that are changing everything. Some of them are already catching people off guard, and rule number 7 is the one causing the most panic. Stay with me, because knowing this before it's too late could save you years of stress, money, and heartbreak. Number 1. Stricter re-entry checks for British citizens. For decades, holding a British passport meant one simple expectation: you could always come home without questions. But under the new UK immigration rules, rolling into 2026, that assumption is quietly changing. British citizens who have lived abroad for long periods are now facing enhanced re-entry checks at the border. Immigration officers are no longer just scanning passports. They're reviewing travel history, length of absence, tax residence, criminal records, and even previous immigration interactions. In some cases, people are being pulled aside for extended questioning, something many never imagined could happen to them. What's driving this change is the UK government's push to tighten border security and identity verification using advanced data sharing systems. These systems connect HMRC records, overseas travel data, police databases, and digital immigration profiles. That means if your time abroad doesn't clearly align with your tax status, or if there are gaps in your residency history, you may be flagged as higher risk, even if you are a British citizen. While outright refusal of entry is still rare, delays, secondary screenings, and future scrutiny are becoming far more common. So what can you do to protect yourself? First, make sure your documents are always up to date, especially your passport and any proof of UK ties. If you've lived overseas, keep records showing employment, tax payments, or legal residence abroad. Avoid long unexplained absences, and be prepared to answer basic questions about your time outside the UK. These checks aren't meant to punish ordinary citizens, but they do mean one thing very clearly: crossing the UK border is no longer automatic, and being prepared could save you from stress, delays, and uncomfortable surprises at the airport. Number 2. New good character threshold. The phrase good character might sound harmless, but under the new UK immigration rules for 2026, it carries far more weight than ever before. Previously, this standard was mainly applied to naturalization and visa applicants, but now it's being expanded and enforced more aggressively across multiple immigration decisions. What's alarming is that minor issues, things many people wouldn't even consider serious, can now work against you. Unpaid fines, civil penalties, immigration breaches from years ago, or even certain online behavior may be taken into account when assessing your status or applications connected to you. Here's where it gets controversial. The updated definition of good character is intentionally broad, giving authorities greater discretion. That means two people with similar histories could receive completely different outcomes. For British citizens, this becomes critical when sponsoring family members, applying for citizenship for children, or supporting visa applications. A past mistake you thought was resolved, a traffic offense, benefit overpayment, or administrative error, could suddenly resurface and trigger extra scrutiny or refusal. This uncertainty is what's causing anxiety among families who believe citizenship alone was enough protection. The key takeaway here is preparation and transparency. If you're planning any immigration-related application, for yourself or someone else, it's vital to review your past carefully, settle outstanding fines, correct records where possible, and gather evidence showing rehabilitation or compliance. Honesty matters more than ever. Attempting to hide information can seriously backfire. Under the 2026 rules, character is no longer judged by one big mistake, but by your entire history. Understanding this shift early can help you avoid refusals, delays, and life-changing consequences that many people simply never saw coming. Number 3. Family sponsorship income threshold increase. One of the most painful changes in the 2026 UK immigration rules is the sharp increase in the minimum income threshold required to sponsor a family member. For many British citizens, This rule hits closest to home. If you want to bring a spouse, partner, or child to the UK, simply being a citizen is no longer enough. You must now prove a higher and more stable income than before. Thousands of families are discovering that they fall just short of the new requirement, even though they are working full-time and paying taxes. What makes this rule especially difficult is how inflexible it has become. Overtime bonuses or future job offers often don't count. In many cases, only verified salary from approved sources is accepted, and short gaps in employment can reset the clock. This means couples who have lived together abroad for years may still be denied the right to live together in the UK. Critics argue that the rule disproportionately affects young professionals, single-income households, and people living outside London where wages are lower. There are ways to plan around this change, but it requires early action. Combining incomes, building savings that meet financial evidence, rules, or switching to alternative visa routes may help. Timing is also critical. Applying even a few months too early or too late can make the difference between approval and refusal. The message from the Home Office is clear. Family life now comes with a financial test. Understanding the numbers, the evidence required, and the risks involved is essential if you want to avoid long separations and emotionally draining refusals under the new system. If even one rule made you pause and think, imagine how many people are walking into these changes completely unaware. Drop a comment below and tell us which rule shocked you the most. Your voice might help someone else avoid a costly mistake. And don't forget to watch our previous video, where we break down why UK visa refusals are rising fast. If this content helped you, please support our work by subscribing. It's just one click, but it helps us keep bringing you clear, honest updates like this. Number 4. Digital immigration status becomes mandatory. One of the quietest but most dangerous changes in the UK immigration rules for 2026 is the move to a fully digital immigration status system. Physical documents like BRP cards, visa vignettes, and paper letters are being phased out and replaced with online-only records. On the surface, this sounds modern and convenient, but in reality, it has already caused serious problems for travelers, workers, and families. If your digital record is wrong, outdated, or missing, you could be treated as if you have no status at all. The biggest risk is that errors are common. Names spelled incorrectly, expired, permissions not updated, or links between passports and online accounts failing to sync have led to people being denied boarding, stopped at airports, or refused jobs and housing. British citizens may not need digital visas, but this rule directly affects those they sponsor, employ, or live with. If your partner or family member's digital status shows an issue, your own plans can collapse instantly. Often with no warning, the smartest move is to be proactive. Regularly log in to the official system and check every detail carefully, save screenshots, download confirmation pages, and keep backup evidence whenever possible. If something looks wrong, act immediately. Delays can take weeks or months to fix under the new system. Your immigration status only exists if the system says it does. Understanding and monitoring this digital shift could be the difference between a smooth journey and a nightmare at the border. Number 5, overstay penalties now apply retroactively under the new UK immigration rules. For 2026, one of the most unsettling changes is that past overstays can now come back to haunt you, even if they happened years ago. Previously, minor overstays were often overlooked. Once someone left the UK or regularized their status, that safety net is disappearing. Immigration systems are now being updated to re-examine historical records, meaning a short overstay you thought was forgotten could suddenly be treated as a serious compliance issue today. What makes this rule especially frightening is how little margin for error there is, even a few days beyond a visa's expiry, caused by illness, flight cancellations, or misunderstanding. The rules can now be flagged. These records are automatically cross-checked when applying for visas, re-entry, or family sponsorship for British citizens. This becomes critical when supporting a partner or relative, because their past mistakes can affect your current application. Many families are being refused not because of recent actions, but because of old immigration history they never knew was still active. The most important step here is review and honesty. Before making any application, request your immigration history if possible, and disclose issues up front. In many cases, providing context, evidence, or legal explanations can reduce the damage. Trying to hide an overstay is far more dangerous than addressing it directly under the 2026 rules. Immigration is no longer just about what you're doing now. It's about everything you've ever done. Knowing your past could save your future. Number 6, skilled worker salary threshold raised. One of the most disruptive changes in the 2026 UK immigration rules is the sharp increase in the minimum salary threshold for the skilled worker visa. This rule is already reshaping the job market. and catching both employers and workers off guard. Roles that were considered eligible just a year ago are now falling below the new salary requirement, meaning thousands of workers may no longer qualify to stay, or extend their visas even worse. Many people only discover this problem when it's time to renew, when options are already limited. This change heavily impacts sectors the UK still relies on, including healthcare, care work, education, construction and technology. Employers must now prove they can pay significantly more, and not all businesses can afford it. For British citizens, this rule matters because it affects partners, spouses, and employees they sponsor or depend on. A sudden salary shortfall could mean a loved one must leave the country, even if they've lived and worked in the UK for years, and contributed fully to society. The best way to respond is early planning and open communication. If you or someone you support is on a skilled worker visa, review salary levels now, not later. Speak to employers about pay adjustments, promotions, or switching to eligible roles with higher pay bands. In some cases, changing visa routes may be necessary. The message from the government is clear. Skills alone are no longer enough. Income now decides your future. Number 7. British citizens can lose sponsorship rights due to benefits. This is the rule that has shocked the most people. British citizens can now be blocked from sponsoring family members if they receive certain public benefits. Under the new 2026 immigration framework, claiming specific forms of state support may be interpreted as an inability to financially maintain a sponsored person for years. Many assume that citizenship protected them from such restrictions. That assumption is now dangerously outdated. Families are discovering that even temporary financial help can quietly disqualify them from sponsoring a spouse, partner, or child. What makes this rule especially controversial is how easily someone can fall into it. Benefits claimed during job loss, illness, maternity leave, or rising living costs can all trigger problems in many cases. People followed the law, paid taxes for years, and relied on support only when they truly needed it. Yet they are now being told they don't meet the sponsorship standards. This has led to heartbreaking outcomes, marriages delayed, children stuck abroad, and couples forced to live apart because one technical condition wasn't met at the time of application. The key to surviving this rule is awareness and timing. If you plan to sponsor a family member, it's critical to understand which benefits affect eligibility and how long they remain relevant on your record. Some people may need to wait, rebuild financial evidence, or demonstrate sustained income before applying. Others may need professional advice to explore lawful alternatives. The harsh reality is this: citizenship no longer guarantees the right to family life. Without conditions under the 2026 rules, financial independence is being treated as proof of responsibility, and ignoring this change could cost families years together. Number 8. Severe restrictions on student dependence. One of the most life-changing updates in the UK immigration rules for 2026 is the near-total restriction on student dependence. In the past, many international students could bring their spouse or children, especially if they were enrolled in long-term or postgraduate courses. That door is now largely closed. Under the new rules, only a very small group of students, usually those on specific research-based postgraduate programs, may qualify. For everyone else, dependents are simply not allowed, no matter how genuine the family situation is. This rule has created deep emotional and financial stress. Students are being forced to choose between education and family, something no policy can truly prepare people for. British citizens are affected too, especially those married to or in relationships with international students. A partner may be legally studying in the UK, but unable to live with their spouse or child. The government argues this change reduces pressure on housing and public services, but critics say it ignores the human cost and disproportionately affects women and young families. If you or someone you know is planning to study in the UK, strategy now matters more than ever. Choosing the right course, institution, and visa category can determine whether family unity is possible at all. In some cases, switching to a different visa route before arrival may be the only solution. The message is clear and unsettling. Studying in the UK now comes with stricter personal sacrifices. Understanding these limits early could help you make informed decisions, instead of painful ones later. Number 9. Tougher deportation rules for dual nationals. Another major shift in the 2026 UK immigration rules targets dual nationals, and it's causing serious concern. If you hold British citizenship plus another nationality, the protection you once assumed you had is no longer absolute. Under the new framework, the government has lowered the threshold for deportation in certain cases, especially where officials believe removal is in the public interest. This means dual citizens may now face consequences that sole British nationals would never encounter. What's especially worrying is that the definition of risk has widened. Deportation is no longer limited to serious crimes alone. Repeated minor offenses, historical convictions, or patterns of behavior can now be taken into account. Authorities argue this strengthens public safety, but critics warn it creates a two-tier system of citizenship, where some citizens are more vulnerable than others. For families, this rule brings fear and uncertainty. One legal issue could suddenly threaten a person's right to remain in the country they call home. The most important response to this change is awareness and caution. Dual nationals should take legal matters extremely seriously, no matter how small they may seem. Keeping records, seeking legal advice early, and avoiding assumptions about immunity are now essential. The harsh truth is this: having two passports no longer means double protection. Under the 2026 rules, it can mean double scrutiny, and ignoring that reality could lead to irreversible consequences. Number 10, AI-driven risk profiling takes control. The final and perhaps most unsettling change in the UK immigration rules for 2026 is the introduction of AI-driven risk profiling. Immigration decisions are no longer based solely on forms and interviews. They are now increasingly shaped by algorithms. These systems analyze huge amounts of data, including travel history, financial patterns, employment records, previous applications, and inconsistencies across documents. What feels routine to you may look like a risk signal to a machine you never see. The danger lies in how silent and invisible this process is. You are rarely told when AI flags your profile, and there's often no clear explanation. When applications are delayed or refused, a mismatch in dates, frequent travel, or a sudden income change can quietly increase your risk score. For British citizens, this matters, because your digital footprint can affect the people you sponsor or support. One unexplained inconsistency can ripple through multiple applications and cause long-term problems. The smartest defense is consistency and accuracy. Every application document and declaration must align across years, not just months. Keep copies of everything. Avoid guesswork and double-check details before submission. If something changes, explain it clearly. Under the 2026 system, immigration is no longer judged only by humans. It's judged by patterns, and when technology decides, trust preparation becomes your most powerful protection. When you step back and look at all 10 changes together, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. UK immigration has entered a completely new era. The system is no longer built on assumptions, goodwill, or even citizenship alone. It is now data-driven, tightly controlled, and far less forgiving. From stricter re-entry checks for British citizens to AI-powered risk profiling, every rule points to one clear message: nothing is automatic anymore. What once felt like basic rights are now tied to income history, digital records, and long-term consistency. What makes these changes especially dangerous is that most people won't realize they're affected until it's too late. A benefit claimed during a difficult year, a short overstay from the past, or an outdated digital record can suddenly block a visa, separate a family, or delay re-entry into the UK. These rules don't just affect migrants, they affect British citizens, dual national students, workers, and families who believe the system would always work in their favor. That belief is now being tested. But knowledge is power. Understanding these rules before you apply, travel, or sponsor someone gives you a critical advantage. Preparation, accurate records, honest applications, and early planning can mean the difference between approval and refusal. The goal of this video isn't fear, it's awareness. Because in 2026, immigration mistakes are no longer small mistakes. They are life-changing decisions. Stay informed, plan carefully, and never assume the rules will bend in your favor, because the new UK immigration system is built to do the opposite.